The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight we have my very special guest, once again, Mr. Noah Forrest. He's an excellent actor, and he brought some clips that he'd like to share with you today. Welcome to the show, Noah.
I'm back.
Yay!
Wasn't I here just like 48 hours ago?
It seems like it. It seems like only yesterday, but it was actually maybe a couple of weeks ago.
A couple of weeks, time flies.
But it's amazing that you have more information to give us. And more.
Hey, I'm full of information that nobody cares about, so I bring it here so you can display it for everybody. Alan, don't you know that?
Yeah, but you've always worked on really good projects. You know, and I was always amazed. Working on my little projects over the last 10 years, but seeing some of the stuff that you worked on. I mean, really quickly, if we could just talk about, you played a gangster. What was that guy's name?
What, the Carlo Gambino?
Yeah,
Gambino. It was Carlo Gambino.
Well, was that a great experience?
It was a great experience. We filmed that in West Virginia.
Wow.
And they had every gangster under the sun that you've heard of, every character. So where all these guys are in West Virginia with our, walking around with our suits on, and people are like, who are these guys here that invaded our town? Because we're in this little town, this little historical town in West Virginia that had a lot of interesting history attached to it. And we were filming in these old mansions, and we were filming in what used to be a train switching yard or something. It was this massive property, and they had these like 5-story green screens, and they had multiple things going on.
5-story green screens?
It was insane. Crazy. They had these cranes stretching out these green screens. It was like for these to create the environments that took place like in Vegas and things like that.
What do you think the budget was for something like that?
Well, obviously many millions of dollars. I mean, I'm thinking north of 20 or something like that.
That must have been something to work on, and to have such a part in that.
Well, maybe it was more than that. Yeah, it was good. But you know what's interesting about that? You mentioned that because so much of it didn't make it into the show.
Right.
Okay? So much of it didn't make it into the show. Things I did that I've never seen that I'd like to obtain. Right. And I did reach out to somebody and I said, can I get my footage? They're like, no, we usually don't do that. So I don't know where it is. It's sitting in the vault somewhere. It's sitting on somebody's... But there was something in the script that we didn't do that I was disappointed about. It was, at the end, Carlo's kind of like the surviving gangster who made his way through the maze and all of the cutthroat aspects of that business.
Yes.
And he's walking down what is a New York street back in the day, because they built a New York street. Right. They built a New York street that was a period piece that they would bring up from like the 20s all the way to the 70s and 80s, whatever. And they cut it. They never shot that. So things started getting cut out. And I was like, I got a little edgy about it. But, you have to maintain your cool. I wasn't going to go up to somebody and say, would you cut my... you let it go. Right. But it was a little bit annoying. But the overall experience was great. Right. And it's a well-received show, and it's still on Amazon and a bunch of other places. It's, people enjoy it.
I'll tell you, you reminded me of something. The first movie I ever worked on, I played a New York City cop in a ticker tape parade scene for John Glenn and Lyndon Johnson at the time. And they were going to go down, like for this big ticker tape parade scene down in downtown Manhattan. But it was shot in San Francisco. And it's amazing how they were, they had some they took some shots, historical shots from the time, but then with the close-ups, were all shot in San Francisco. So it's amazing how they, how movie magic, how they could, but that actually made the film, which, it wasn't cut out of the film. So, what films have you decided to share with us today?
Today I brought the trailer for a film called Man, which is going to be retitled The Killer of Men. Right. It's going to be released in the summer, in June. Right. It's going to be a theatrical release. Yes. Initially, and then it's going to go to streaming. It was picked up by a gentleman, a producer who's a legendary producer by the name of Carrie Woods, who produced the Scream series. He produced Rudy. He did Copland. He did the controversial film Kids back in the day that had Rosario Dawson in it. So this guy he used to be with Miramax, but he is really a legendary producer. So we picked it up, which is really...
That's unbelievable.
It's a very lucky break for the filmmaker Zvi Friedman. He goes by Zvi. It's going to be called A Movie by Zvi. And that's going to be a name that people are going to be hearing after June a lot more because he's going to be very successful in this business.
Did he have a connection with the producer before?
No, he did not. Somebody saw his work and said, I know somebody that might be interested in seeing your work.
Yeah.
And it turns out that person was Carrie Woods, and he was interested. So
tell me a little bit about Zvi. I'm curious about.
He's an interesting guy. It's good you mentioned it because his story is very interesting. He was a member of the Hasidic community. He was told that you're not going to be able to make movies. You can't be a filmmaker in this community.
God.
And he basically decided that he would follow his heart and his dreams and his ambitions in film, and would leave the community and go pursue what he wanted to pursue.
That must have been rough. I mean, I know I used to work in Borough Park, which is the heart, one of the hearts of the Hasidic community, and people don't usually break away from that community. It's very closely knit, and so you must have had a lot of guts to get out of the
guts. You got to be brave, and it's. I'm happy for him.
And now he's like a premier filmmaker now, I guess. Right?
He's a real filmmaker. And he's going to be hearing a lot more about him as time
And what
goes
part
on.
do you play in it?
I play the part of a bodega owner. I own a bodega, and I give a job. The lead character works for me at the bodega. I don't want to give away too much what happens, but it's let's just say I work in I run the bodega, and I'm involved in this world that this gentleman occupies.
And is this world New York City, or where is this world?
It's New York, yeah. We filmed in Brooklyn. But we filmed in Brooklyn, but we filmed during the pandemic.
Oh my God! So there was no one on the street.
It was a bizarre time because I was paranoid during the pandemic, and I didn't want to be around anybody.
I know.
Like I didn't go to get my hair cut or anything. I was like, I just wanted to isolate and get through it unscathed. And I remember we were going to shoot at night once. And it was going to be a scene where there was going to be some grappling, some kind of altercation. And I reached out to Zvi and I said, "Look, man, I don't want anybody touching me. I don't want anybody touching me." So he altered the scene, and I give him a lot of credit.
That's why I mentioned something. Okay,
yeah, he's a great guy. He said, "No, I understand." And he altered the scene. The scene ended up working out better when we altered it from that. But who knew then? We didn't know what we were dealing with.
Oh. You don't have to tell me. I mean, you know that I was home for 3 years, basically. I didn't go out. Me being in my 60s, it was like, and they were saying, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And it might have that could have been one of the reasons why my dad died at the exact time that he died, because anyway, that's a different story that we can get into some other time. So that's an interesting piece of information that I didn't realize before. Yeah. So would you like to share? Do you want to set it up at all? Or?
This is basically a trailer, one of the trailers for the original Man. I'm assuming that there's going to be a new trailer. I know there's going to be a new one sheet. So everything's going to be new and it's going to be exciting. But right now I have one of the original trailers for the film. So
well, I'm really excited to
love to share it with you.
To share it. So let's take a look at this fantastic trailer. Okay, so that was fantastic.
Yeah. I'm sitting here watching and chatting as we're watching the thing.
So, what was the feeling on the set? I mean, when you were making that?
Look, anytime you do an independent film, and you're in the street, and you're running and shooting, it's like, that's great raw filmmaking.
Right.
That's the creative process.
Sounds like guerrilla filmmaking.
But yeah, that's it. But it's a labor of love, man. And there were nights when we were filming, it was freezing out, man. But that's part of it, right? You're dealing with it.
Right.
And it's a small price to pay when the result is what it is.
Right. Especially, it looks so good. I mean,
it does look good.
The colors, you must have a colorist working on it.
Yeah, and the one thing I didn't mention is there's a sci-fi element.
Oh.
And so that's going to be interesting. But like I said, I don't want to obviously give it away, but there's going to be a sci-fi element to this. And it all ties in, and there's some great performances by everybody in the film.
So when you say there's going to be a theatrical release,
Theatrical, theaters, I don't know how
AMC
many.
or,
don't know. It's interesting.
Right.
And this is information I don't have yet. There's going to be a press release.
Right.
So I'm hoping that when that comes out, we'll come discuss it more. And there'll probably
that'd
be
be
a
cool.
lot to talk about, a lot
That'd be-
more to show, because there's going to be a new trailer, no doubt.
that's right. And of course, you'll get me a pass or something. Just kidding.
No. I do.
I want to see the show.
We should all go to the theater and make it.
That would be awesome. Yeah, we had this film. I did this thing right before the pandemic called Dwellers, and it was in AMC theaters, which was
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it is good when you bring the family. Yeah, I had my wife there. I was doing autographs, the whole thing. It's fantastic.
Sign an autograph.
It's good.
You gotta love it.
So, are you working on any other projects with Zvi? Anything in the future, you think?
Well, we're going to talk about some things.
That's
and
good.
nothing I was concrete yet, but we're going to kick some ideas around, and he's going to be busy, and we'll see. So I'm optimistic about what's going to happen moving forward.
That's it. So, what other projects are you working on, or have you worked on?
Well,
since?
it's interesting. I did a short film myself, and it was basically me griping about things I've mentioned to you before, stereotypes of movies and stuff like that. So
Right.
I used my film room. I have a film room that's got tons of posters and things from all of the past movies, and used clips from movies I had done. And I set some things up with my, I have a Scarface anniversary box set, right?
That's cool.
It's got velvet in it, so I open it up like it's a jewelry box, and I'm pulling things out of it. So I created this thing, and then I basically did the narration into my phone, and I threw it on there, and I started to send it out to film festivals. But what I found out, you see, is that a lot of film festivals were not really gravitating towards what I was saying, because I do say some rough stuff in there. But one did, and that was the Punta del Este Film Festival in Uruguay.
Wow.
The Punta del Este Jewish Film Festival in Uruguay. It's a nice seaside resort area.
Did you go there?
I would love to, but it was a little bit too much for that.
Right.
But I made it as a finalist. I didn't win, which is fine, because the film that won was probably a lot more
Well, people saw it.
important. Yeah, people I show it to, react to it, but it's got kind of a hard edge to it, and if it's not for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But before we go there, what's the story behind it? If
The
you don't
story
mind sharing?
behind it is just me being, in general, it's like I've told you before, man.
I know, but tell
It's
them.
everything. Tell them again. Tell them again. You're watching these movies, right?
Yeah.
And the Jewish character is the backstabbing lawyer with the bozo hair,
Right.
and that's what they want to do.
Right.
That's everything they want to do.
And that's from the beginning of film.
But I'm offended by other things too. I want to throw it out there, and this is going to piss some people off, but so be it. Shows I don't watch.
Right.
There was a comedy on called The Goldbergs. I didn't watch it.
Right.
People love this show, The Fabulous Miss Maisel.
Right.
I'm sure it's a great show.
Right.
To me, all these characters in these shows, these Jewish characters, they're whiny, they're loud, they're annoying. Right. It seems to be just this weird theme that is involved,
Right, that defines
infused in
Jewish
all
people.
these shows.
Right.
It's like, what am I looking at?
Right.
Who do they represent?
That's true.
So maybe somebody's got to represent something else.
Right.
So in this movie, at the end, I say, it's about time I show them what a real effing Jew look like.
Okay, well, you said F. That's okay.
Yes, I said I'm not going to say it, right?
Right.
So I get a little rough about it.
Right.
I get a little hard,
Right.
and it's not for everybody.
Right.
But I like it.
Okay, so now that you gave the warm up and you did the pitch,
I introed it, man.
so maybe we should share it.
Cue it up.
Cue it up.
Okay, this is a little bit of the beginning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
Stereotypes have existed since the inception of the film industry, right from the beginning. And no group is safe from stereotypes. And stereotypes are dangerous because they shape people's perceptions. And in some cases, they can piss off individuals. Individuals like me. I get pissed off about a very specific stereotype. It's a stereotype that goes against everything I know about myself Every time I look in the mirror.
The opening, I wasn't going to put the whole 4 minutes up there.
Right.
Plus, like I said, I get a little rough in there.
Right.
I start saying some things, you know.
Well, I know. I don't know. I used to. We were, just a little sharing about my background. We were the only Jewish family on the block.
Yeah.
During the 1950s and 60s, and we used to get, a lot of anti-Semitic stuff. My brother was pushed off our porch. Mm-hmm. My brother, when he was going to Hebrew school, they used to throw rocks at him and stuff, and we were called. He came crying one day. He thought someone called him a Jew basket instead of what they really called him, which was a different word that starts with B-A-S. And that's when he was a little kid. And, anti-Semitism and stereotypes have been around, and it's good that you're fighting against it, In
a sense. So I've, look, it is what it is. It's an interpretation by people, right?
Right.
So, it's just obviously not very accurate. Now, in the clip I showed there when I'm running with the, the orange jumpsuit from prison, that character's name is Connolly, right? Connolly. Carlo Gambino's a Gambino, right?
Right. No, none of them were Schwartz or
yeah, right. It wasn't like
Bendich.
right. No, the Schwartz character is the lawyer that stabbed the guy in the back, and he's got bozo hair and he's a slob because that's what they want to do.
So, do you have any plans of possibly making this smaller film into a bigger film?
Well, you know what? I have plans of making a film that kind of attacks kind of the issues I'm saying, but I'm not hitting it on the nose. I'm not trying to hammer an opinion home to people. I'm just trying to make a film that presents a particular character the way I think they should be represented. I'm not using it as a lesson piece, like I'm going to tell you, I'm going to teach you something. No, I'm going to make movies just like everybody else does, except my characters are not going to be depicted the way all these other characters are depicted.
Almost comical.
Comical, jokey, just a complete moronic behavior all the time.
But I hate to say it, but I think a lot of the audience that is watching isn't that sophisticated. So they're used to,
definitely not. We got a lot of dopes around here.
That's what I'm saying. And unfortunately, they'll swallow anything you throw out there.
They'll believe anything they see, anything they hear.
That's it.
And let's not get into anything political.
I'm not getting into politics.
Yeah, I know, because we could go there, but you know what I'm saying. People believe any goddamn thing they hear.
No, I agree. And the problem is that what we have to do as artists, whatever we are, is to try to show an alternative view of what we think reality is versus how other people think we are or whatever, so and I think it's great that you're spotlighting it, you're putting a little magnifying glass on it.
Well, I'm going to throw it out there. Well, I still look good, Alan. I'm not getting any younger, okay?
Yeah, but you still look good.
Well, I still look good and I'm still virile. I got to get out there and do something.
Right.
But at the beginning of it, you saw West 97th.
Right.
I took that picture. That's the street I grew up on.
Really? I did not know
when I was a little kid. And, I always said that avenue, that street, the way it's right off Riverside Drive, that street, I'm going to use that as my production company
logo,
moniker, logo, whatever.
That's good.
Logo, West 97. So that's what that was.
And it was cool.
Then you got a few honking horns. It gives you the feel that you little grit. And the box I opened, that's a Rudolph Valentino box from the 1920s, that is, 20s, 30s.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. So I incorporate a lot of my passion for collecting in it.
And all the stuff that you showed in that's your stuff, right?
All my stuff.
Wow. So, and you've gotten it over the years, all the Jewish...
Over the years. Well, yeah, those Star David things, I've collected too. Right. But the film stuff, I obviously collect film stuff from across a spectrum. Right. Not any particular...
Well, and you're not a Johnny-come-lately for film. When did you start?
I started a little while ago. I figured after college I needed, I had a job at an insurance company and all that. And, man, I could have shot I was like, I can't stay here. I turned around to somebody one day and said, what are you going to do with your life? What are your ambitions? They're like, what? I'm working. Work is work. And I'm thinking, this place is going to kill me.
Right.
And I had a passion for film, and so I'd say probably mid-90s is when I went for it. But I also want to say one thing important as well. As I say in that short film, I'm not a religious guy.
Right.
So I'm not coming across as some religious zealot. I'm not religious.
Right.
Okay? So
I'm the same thing. I'm a cultural Jew.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe strongly in that, and I believe, you know, I might not be a person that goes to synagogue,
Right.
but I'm very much proud of being a Jew.
Right. The cultural part.
The cultural part, the history of what we went through as a people, and what's been forced upon us and forced down our throats throughout time.
And everybody, and all groups have had their misfortune. So I also want to make that clear. I'm aware of that.
Right.
But the film part is something that I can work on, and I like doing it. I like showing my opinion of these various things.
Right, and it's good. It's good to hear all sides, as they say, right? Because a lot of times you only hear one side of, the story. Let's say you want to hear the whole story.
Right. So how about you, though? You're retired now. What are you? You've been up to a lot of stuff. Give us some of the info.
You know, I've been doing mostly short films. I did a commercial, but I found out this week that the commercial wasn't picked up. The commercial I put up there.
What was that?
Generic Viagra commercial.
It didn't get picked up?
It did not get picked up.
Oh, man.
And he said, "I'm sorry, you know,
it
didn't test." I said, "Well, great. I have like 50 copies of the various 60-second, 30-second, and it's never going to be
You can still
seen.
Put it on your reel, though.
Well, I also put it on. I put it on Facebook. Too.
There you
what
go.
the hell, you know? But it's disappointing. But you know what? When I look at it, it's, you know, they have some of these other commercials that are really good. They have these old guys and women together.
Those are Madison Avenue commercials, man, with big budgets.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, but it would have been a nice payday too to get that second one. But I've been doing a lot of short films. And I'm trying out for some features, and I did this thing I mentioned. It's going to be the whole story with Anderson Cooper. It's a reenactment. I play Jake Tapper's dad, who is a pediatrician who was taking care of this African-American little boy. And this boy becomes a 17-year-old, and he winds up getting shot. And then he gets accused of shooting someone else, and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into the story, but it's out there. It's historically.
And tell everyone when it's on.
So it's going to be on this Sunday night, the 24th. But the problem is, the 24th might be, I don't know if this is going to be filmed.
I see it.
This might be in April. So it was, but you could see it on YouTube because it's going to be, once it's, or, you know, whatever, or on CNN, you know, they'll have the videos. But it's a terrible story about a kid that got arrested for something he couldn't possibly have done because he was physically incapable of doing it. And he spent 13 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. But Jake Tapper's dad and Jake Tapper, you know, really got him out of jail. They went to court and they testified. And Jake Tapper's dad testified that he was, you know, physically incapable of doing the things they said because he was still healing physically. So it's an incredible story, and you know I'm still auditioning virtually, you know, and every now and then I'll go to the city. But you know, if they want me to audition at 8 o'clock at night or something like that, I say I can't do it. Can I do it virtually? So the luxury of being retired and not really, you know, hand to mouth life existence is that you could say no. You know, you don't have to jump at everything that comes your way.
But if the studio reaches out to you and says,
I'll jump. I'll say, how high do you want me to jump?
Yes.
How late do you want me? How many days in a row?
Yes, exactly.
How long should I be away from
audition
the
at
family?
2 in the morning, no problem.
Right.
A lot of Warner Brothers, I'll be there.
Yeah, but these are mostly like student films and short films and stuff like that. But it's still fun, and it still gives me that rush that I get from acting.
Absolutely,
you know? And it makes me feel good, and as long as I feel I look good enough to do it, I'll continue doing it.
Hey, as long as you feel up to it, man. That's the way to go. Yeah.
So that's what I'm up to, and you know, you hit bumps along the way. You know, there's opportunities. Just recently, there was an opportunity that again, it was a student film that I thought I was going to work on that it didn't work out. You know, and these things happen. You know. But the good news is that I say, okay, I could rest at home instead of going to shoot it, you know. Yeah. So that's again one of the things about being older is that you can't take you have to take things less. I used to be crazed.
Yeah.
I still have a touch of that, but you know, whenever disappointments happen, I used to be very crazed. But now, it's life is good. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, all I could think about is what my dad used to say.
Right.
Is that as long as you have friends, as long as as long as you're alive, as long as you have your health,
Yeah.
that's the key.
Health is the most important
That's what
thing,
my
right?
father would always say.
Yeah.
Is that, but as long as you have your health, you got everything, really. You
Right.
know? And I work out every other day, sometimes 2 days in a row, and it makes me feel great.
That's the way to do it.
That's it. It's just great.
And your family, doesn't your son host some cool Yiddish rock and roll show?
Well, it's not
He's like
Yiddish
a
rock-
DJ. What
He's-
is it?
No, it's all Yiddish music, and it's going back to my father and my son were unbelievably close.
Right.
And when my father was like, for the last couple of years of his life, my son used to go there every Saturday and Sunday and spend like 3 or 4 hours with him every single weekend.
Right.
And all they would do was sing Jewish songs together, and they would my son was dedicated to my father.
Right. Right.
And that was one of the reasons why I had this radio show initially in Vassar College. And then years later, after he came back to New York and started working, he finally decided he had an opportunity to go back on Vassar. So he started a radio show there. And then it got picked up by 2 other radio stations.
Nice.
And every Sunday, he's on 2 radio stations with Jewish music, Yiddish music, now contemporary Yiddish music, and like historical, old time, gangsta Jewish music, and OG, whatever.
Right.
And he's also still on Vassar on Wednesdays and Friday mornings, and it's beautiful. And my dad used to listen to it on the radio.
Is that his? Is that his ultimate ambition to do that type of show? And
Right.
is that what he wants to be?
Yeah. No, he wants to make a good living doing a real job.
So this
But,
is just kind of a side gig.
Right. Yeah. But the clock is winding down, I guess. It's so. I guess there's just one thing left to say.
That's it.
That's a wrap. Good night, folks.